Alright, and coming from a different area of the house today, just figured I'd change things up a little. Yesterday we were able to go to DevCon, or Day of the Devs rather, I'm sorry. And Day of the Devs this year was quite amazing. The major producer there was Star Wars, or probably EA, I'm thinking. I'll have to go look up to see who the actual sponsor was, but Star Wars, Jedi, Fallen Order was the game that was like bringing people in, and the place was, I would say it was pretty filled this year, but not as packed as last year when Square Enix's new Kingdom Hearts came out. That line was incredible. Like, you barely could get to play the game. You had to wait like 2 hours for a 3-minute playthrough. And this year, I don't feel maybe an hour max wait for the Star Wars game. I didn't actually play it because it was coming out, well, this Friday, so it's no big wait on that, and I have friends that I know that are already going to buy it. The game, or the Midway, was filled with a ton of games, just as it was last year. It felt a little bit more spread out. There might be actually one less aisle, I guess you could call it, or row of computers on both sides where you could play the games that were in development. But other than that, everything else was great. They had a ton of food trucks this year, live music, and then the food trucks, the selection was better this year, and they also had like a chairman bow instead of just kind of, last year I remember it not being so great and really overpriced. Now, one thing that I do remember is that the food trucks are not allowed to sell drinks because the Midway has a bar inside of it, and they want you to go buy drinks there, which kind of sucked, but other than that, I mean, what could you do? It was probably a venue rule, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Once we walked right in the main hall, we were able to actually go and play this game that looked like Adventure Time. It was probably made by the same creators. The art is like the same. It was called Minute of Island. This game is kind of a platformer where you run around solving problems and puzzles as you run around this kind of crazy island that you're trying to get off of and go to another island, I could only assume. Of course, it's still in development, so all these things could change. Nothing's written in stone. But it was really fun, and it was really interesting to go kind of do all these different puzzles where you had to like open these power harnessing deals to let bridges down and open up harvesting items and whatnot. So that was a really fun game. After that, like, if you move on, I went to go see the Psychonauts II trailer that was showing at Day of the Devs. I guess that would probably be the other really big title that was coming out, because they are the ones that actually put on Day of the Devs. They fund the entire thing, because, or they're the major sponsor, I should say. And they go find the other sponsors, they put everything together. It's free for the devs to go to, it's free for just gamers to go to. And because of that, it makes so much sense to go actually watch what they put out. So I caught a little bit, I watched the trailer. You had to get a screening ticket in order to do so, and then they had these headphones that were wireless that you would put on, and then they played it on this big movie theater screen. Looks amazing, just as good as the first one that came out, so should be a ton of fun. After that, right next to it was the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order game that I was telling you about. The line was extremely long, so I didn't actually play it, but they had this little kind of audience area where you could kind of view it. And instead of spending my time like waiting in line and trying to get to this game, I decided I'd go play all the other games that may or may not come out later. And so I did that and just watched maybe like 2 or 3 minutes of the gameplay to see, yeah, this is something that I'll be interested in playing later on. But it was really cool. And following that kind of comes to some games that I played but I didn't actually get any video on, which kind of sucks because those were really cool games. The first one was Cloudpunk, I believe it was called, And this game is this, like, you're a delivery person trying to get maybe not so legal goods from one point to another. It takes place in a world that looks a lot like the like futuristic cyberpunk, like Bubblegum Crisis or Blade Runner is probably the more appropriate thing to say, world. And you're this delivery guy trying to make it from point A to point B and trying to just survive the night. The entire game is supposed to take place over one night of deliveries, so really interesting. The controls were a little wonky, but that's because it was still in dev. The game is from Germany. That was actually kind of a real fun game to play. A little brainy, I would say, so you had to like think about what you were doing. They gave you waypoints on how to get to places and what you're supposed to do, but playing that real quick, that was a lot of fun. Hopefully that comes out, so we'll be able to get that later. And then I ran over to Samurai Gun 2, which that was there last year, so I was surprised to see it at Day of the Devs, because I thought it would have already come out for the arcade. That was a ton of fun. That's just your kind of beat 'em up platformer where you're just trying to, one team is trying to beat, or not one team, it's a battle royale where you're trying to kill everybody. Speaking of that was pretty popular this year. Another game that was played was Gang Beasts, and this game again is another beat 'em up that's a little bit more straightforward, and it's just I think it was actually more than a 4v4. I don't quite remember now. I think I want to say that there was more players than 4 on there, like 8v8 or 8 players battle royale would probably be the more appropriate way to say that. And I believe that's how that worked, but I can't remember 100%. So changing genres completely, another game that I played was kind of along like the Journey line, where it was like exploration, and that was Omno. And that game, that was pretty awesome. It had a really long line at first, so I kind of just avoided it, but after just watching people play, I was like, huh, and they put it up on the big screen on the stage. I decided, yeah, why not go try and play that game. It was totally worth it. Tons of fun. Like, there's these little puzzles that you have to solve, and then it advances you to the next level. You need to collect energy, kind of just like you did in Journey. And the thing that I noticed most was the landscapes and everything in there, all the animals. It was beautiful. It was just gorgeously done, and it was really, really fun to play. And to kind of follow that, there was another game kind of next to it called Pray for the Gods. And this game, same type of like exploration like Journey, except perhaps Lynn put it best when she said that it reminded her of Shadow of the Colossus. The whole idea is the same. They have these weird runes, and you're running around kind of fighting these giants as some kind of Norse, I would say, is kind of the inspiration behind it, but not 100%. Again, it was a third person running around, exploration, fighting these giants. So Shadow of the Colossus is probably like a good recognition to give it. There was also some other stranger games that I don't know how well they will do. Hopefully they'll come out because they were fun to play. One was called Not for Broadcast, and this game you play kind of like a TV broadcaster or cable broadcaster, and you're censoring what can and cannot be put onto television, which was quite interesting. So that was really cool. And then there was also the Pedestrian, which this game I actually saw like an Imager post about it before, and I really do hope this one comes out. It's a puzzle platformer where you play the universal sign man, going through signs, and you're trying to move the signs so that you can get from point A to point B, and that was actually really fun. it really made for a difficult time if you weren't really paying attention to how everything was being put together. Meaning, like, you needed to make sure that all the signs aligned in a certain way and all the doors or signs connected a certain way so that you could get from point A to point B to point C to point D. And as the levels went up, the signs got more harder, and it was a logic game where you had to figure out, okay, if he climbs on this ladder from sign A, sign B has to have a ladder coming down into it. And so that was a ton of fun. And then the last one that I didn't get, again, no video of this unfortunately, was called El Hijo, or the Son, I believe that's how it translates in English. And that was a little game where you're stuck in like a missionary area where you're forced into just cleaning and doing your chores. And so you run around hiding from guards and the priest and the nuns, and you do so to get around some of them. You have to, like, you have this little slingshot where you shoot little rocks at like bells or vases or into water sources to make noise, and then you try to get around them. That was actually a ton of fun as well. There's so many good games this year at Day of the Dev, so I'm really happy that we went. I finished off the night by going to the food trucks, kind of had to get some sort of dinner, and Chairman Bao, like I said before, was there, and I was able to go to Chairman Bao and get a pork belly rice bowl. I know I didn't get a bao. That was kind of weird, but being that the rice was the fastest thing selling out, and I did kind of want something that would fill me up, that's actually what I went with, and it ended up being really delicious. The rice was a little undercooked because they kept running out, like I said, so they were definitely trying to they were cooking it way too fast because it wasn't actually all the way cooked. So it was decent though. The pork belly was really good. The vegetables were really good. And then yeah, that's kind of how I finished off that night. We played a few more games, maybe here or there, and then just kind of chatted with friends that were there before taking off. And then as kind of a tchotchke, we got these cool reusable straws. Let's see if I can focus. There we go. Reusable straws. It comes in a package. There's a keychain. And then if you pop the deal open, there is a silicone, or how you want to call it, like a reusable straw. And that's kind of neat. It's not as good as the stainless steel reusable straw that I got from work, but I mean, choosers and beggars and all, right? So, or beggars and choosers and all. So, pretty happy with this. It was free, and it'll help because we have to use paper straws here in the city now, and having something with a little bit more structure, even if it's something weird like that, will definitely be awesome. Anyhow, I digress. It was an awesome time. Looking forward to Day of the Dev next year. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video.